Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the most powerful force shaping your future is not your circumstances, not your education, not your past, and not even the people around you? What if I told you that the greatest power you possess is something you carry with you every second of every day? That power is your thoughts. Every success begins as a thought. Every invention begins as a thought. Every relationship begins as a thought. Every fear begins as a thought. Every dream begins as a thought. Your entire life is built upon the invisible foundation of what you repeatedly think. Yet most people underestimate this extraordinary power. They spend their lives trying to change the outside world while ignoring the inner world that creates their experience. They work harder to change their environment than they do to change their thinking. And then they wonder why the same patterns continue to repeat. Ladies and gentlemen, your thoughts are like seeds planted in the garden of your mind. Every thought you nourish begins to grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, anger, and resentment, those emotions will eventually shape your life. But if you plant seeds of confidence, gratitude, compassion, and possibility, those qualities will begin to flourish. Life responds to what you consistently cultivate within yourself. The challenge is that most people are unaware of the conversation taking place inside their own minds. From the moment they wake up, they begin repeating familiar stories. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Life is too difficult. Things never work out for me. These thoughts may seem harmless, but repeated often enough, they become beliefs. And beliefs quietly shape your decisions, your habits, your confidence, and ultimately your destiny. The good news is this: a belief is only a thought that has been repeated. And if a belief can be learned, it can also be changed. That is where your freedom begins. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest discoveries you can ever make is that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Imagine sitting beside a busy highway. Cars pass by every moment. Some are fast, some are slow, some are loud, some are quiet. Your thoughts are exactly the same. They come, they go, they appear, they disappear. But you do not have to chase every passing thought. You do not have to believe every sentence your mind whispers to you, simply because you think something does not make it true. The moment you begin observing your thoughts, instead of automatically believing them, you reclaim your power. That single shift can transform your life. Now let us talk about focus. Where attention goes, energy flows. If you spend every day focusing on problems, your mind becomes trained to notice more problems. If you spend every day focusing on fear, your mind becomes conditioned to expect danger. But when you begin focusing on opportunities, gratitude, learning, and growth, your perception changes. You begin seeing possibilities that were always there, but previously hidden by negative thinking. Nothing outside may have changed, yet everything feels different because your mind is looking through a different lens. Ladies and gentlemen, every great achievement in history was first created in someone's imagination. Before a building existed, it existed as a thought. Before a masterpiece was painted, it existed as a thought. Before a business was built, it existed as a thought. Everything is created twice. First in the mind, then in reality. If you constantly imagine failure, your actions become hesitant. If you constantly imagine success, your actions become confident. Your thoughts influence your behavior. Your behavior creates your results. This is why the quality of your thinking matters so much. Now let us speak about fear. Fear is often nothing more than a thought about something that has not happened. The mind creates imaginary futures and convinces us they are real. It asks endless questions. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if I lose everything? But rarely does it ask, what if I succeed? What if everything works out beautifully? What if this challenge becomes the greatest opportunity of my life? The future has not yet arrived. Why give your energy to imagined disasters? Instead, direct your mind toward possibility. That is where creativity lives. That is where courage grows. Ladies and gentlemen, gratitude is another powerful thought. Gratitude changes the way you experience life. When you appreciate what you already have, your heart becomes lighter. Your attention shifts from scarcity to abundance. You stop measuring your life by what is missing and begin celebrating what is present. This does not mean pretending life is perfect. It means choosing not to allow temporary problems to define your entire reality. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to transform your thinking. And transformed thinking creates transformed living. There is another truth that successful people understand. Your inner dialogue becomes your outer reality. If you constantly encourage yourself, you become stronger. If you constantly criticize yourself, you weaken your confidence. Speak to yourself with the same kindness you would offer someone you deeply love. Your mind is always listening. Teach it hope. Teach it courage. Teach it faith. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine beginning every morning by choosing thoughts that strengthen rather than weaken you. Imagine replacing fear with faith, replacing doubt with confidence, replacing comparison with gratitude, replacing limitation with possibility. Over time, those small choices begin to reshape your entire identity. And once your identity changes, your life begins to follow. Remember this, you cannot always control what happens around you, but you can always influence what happens within you. And what happens within you eventually shapes what happens around you. That is the true power of your thoughts. They influence your emotions. Your emotions influence your actions. Your actions influence your habits. Your habits shape your character, and your character determines your destiny. So guard your thoughts carefully. Choose them wisely. Feed your mind with truth instead of fear. Feed your spirit with gratitude instead of complaint. Feed your heart with love instead of resentment, because every thought is creating the person you are becoming. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember only one message today, let it be this: your life changes the moment your thinking changes. The power you have been searching for has never been outside you. It has always existed within your own mind. Master your thoughts, and you will master your life. Thank you.